Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Lesser Known But Awesome Heroes. And I'll take a brief moment here to talk to you guys. I actually was going to post Adam Warlock as this week's video, but I thought to myself, I'm going to hold off on Adam Warlock, and I also had Plastic Man planned. I figure I'll post both of those after, October and so, because this is the month of Halloween, guys. And so I thought to myself, you know what? For the month of October, I am going to do a double feature this year for DC and Marvel. But I thought I'm going to do a video this week before I get those two posted. The week before and the week of Halloween, to specify. And I thought to myself, well, if I can't use Adam Warlock and I can't use Plastic Man, then who can I talk about? Well, lucky for you guys, digging through the archives of DC's many characters, I thought to myself, I'm going to pick a character that's supernatural based. Try to keep up with, the witching hour, if you will. So I introduce to you guys Dr. Richard Occult. Yes, that's right. Dr. Occult will be this week's character, and then after Halloween, I will resume my regular lesser knowns. Now, Dr. Occult is very unique because his first appearance was in New Fun Comics number 6 in October of 1935. And get ready for this, he was actually created by the writer and artist combination of Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. Yes, that's right, guys. The creators of Superman actually created this character, which thus makes Dr. Occult one of DC's earliest superhero characters in the golden age of comics. Now, Dr. Occult is a supernatural detective. He's very much like the detective character of Sam Spade from the book. Grab it here in a second. The fictional private eye and protagonist of the 1930 novel, The Maltese Falcon. So Occult was based on Sam Spade, and he has many supernatural abilities. Now, Occult actually, to get into his powers a little bit, get them out the way, Occult has a masterful knowledge of occult and demonology and what have you, putting him on the level of guys like Jason Blood and John Constantine. On top of that, using, mystical spells and what have you, Dr. Occult has slowed down his aging process. He was born in the late 19th century, yet he hasn't aged a day, looking like a man who's still in his 30s and 40s. On top of that, he can do astral projection, hypnosis, illusion creation, telekinesis, and he also knows many arcanic arts and arcane magic. However, as a personal preference, he does not use it. However, the primary weapon that Occult uses is a mystical cross-hatched medallion called the Seal of Seven, which is able to repel even the most powerful of arcane and dark magic. And on top of that, he had a girlfriend/lover/partner called Rose Psychic, who had nearly the same abilities as him. And eventually through a story, the two of them were actually fused together, and that the Seven, the mystical group that gave Occult his Seal of Seven, actually put them together. But let me get into the origins so that way you guys are not confused. Now, he also had a butler named Jenkins, at least in one adventure. For whatever reason, they just put that in there. She appeared in his first adventure and then will return later in the series. He also appeared in the Centaur Publications The Comics magazine #1 under the name Dr. Mystic. However, this was the same character because the story The Kuth and the Seven began in Comics magazine and continued in DC's More Fun Comics issue 14 through 17. The issues were also designated as Volume 2, number 2 through 5. In this story, he travels to a mystical realm where he flies and wears a cape, making him the first caped superhero, comic book superhero. This story also introduced the Seven, a group of mystics who would later be retconned into having raised Occult and Rose Psychic. Dr. Occult made his last original appearance in Fun Comics issue number 32 in 1938. He would later appear in the Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline, the Books of Magic storyline, the Vertigo Visions Dr. Occult, which was in June of 1994, and the aptly named Trenchcoat Brigade in 99. Now, Dr. Occult would actually be resurrected nearly 50 years later in the All-Star Squadron, a World War II set title written in 1985. And his given origin was that on New Year's Eve in 1899, Occult and Rose Psychic had been rescued from by a shadowy group called the Seven from ritual murder at the hands of a satanic cult. The two were later trained in the use of the mystic arts, and even the occult magics. 36 years later, Dr. Occult opened up his own detective agency, specializing in crimes of a mystical nature. During World War II, he was a member of the All-Star Squadron. At one point, he and Rose became fused into one being. However, this was actually later revealed and possibly retconned as that the two weren't so much fused into being one being, but that rather their souls shared I guess you could say, time capacity kind of magic. Whereas, Dr. Occult could be on this plane of existence for a certain amount of time, and then, boom, Rose would actually pop in. It's kind of like that. Thought I lost my place there for a second. At one point, Dr. Occult has also used sorcery to halt or greatly slow the aging process, so he appears in modern comics of today as a man still being in his late 30s to early 40s, even though he was born at the end of the 19th century. Unlike some of the other Golden Age heroes Roy Thomas resurrected in that book, this did not lead to a renaissance for the character, possibly because he joined around the time the book was being affected by the Crisis on Infinite Earths, in which he played a significant role. In his current look, he wears a trench coat and fedora and wields a magic multifaceted disc, which is the symbol of the Seven, or the Seal of Seven, as his primary magic weapon. However, in 1991, Neil Gaiman would bring the character back into the spotlight, and would feature him in the miniseries The Books of Magic. In the third issue, he acts as Tom Hunter's guide to other worlds, and when visiting, I think her name is Frey. Let's see, Frey of the Fairlands. I can't pronounce that. It's either Fairy or Frey. I'm sorry if I absolutely just butchered that name. But anyway, see, now I lost my place again. Okay, there we go. He transforms into Rose. Tim learns very important things from Dr. Occult. While nearly being trapped in the realm of the Fray, this is all to guide Timothy on his role to becoming the world's greatest sorcerer, sorcerer or most powerful magician of the current era. Other guides on this mission were Mr. E, the Phantom Stranger, and John Constantine, who nicknamed the group the Trenchcoat Brigade. The four would later return at a summons from Timothy, who had lost everything, who at one point had lost everything and needed a new direction in his life. Later stories would continue the idea that Rose and Occult were one being. There were two different origins given by DC to explain how they became one person. The first was in Superman Annual number 7. This was a one-year story to explain how Clark and Occult actually met. In this story, Dr. Occult explained that Rose had been severely injured battling a creature called Thane. Occult leads Superman and the reader, to believe that Rose had been killed. So Superman is very shocked to later come into contact with Rose alive and wonders where Occult went. When the story concludes, Supes and Occult defeat Thing, but Superman did not see the two switch back. Although the reader does, it is revealed that the 7 who trained them saved Rose by allowing them to timeshare. Later in the miniseries, The Justice Society Returns, a new version explained that Dr. Occult was actually killed in battle with an otherworldly entity, and that Rose had bonded their souls to restore him. And something kind of is going a little wonky here. Uh-oh. A little bit of craziness. Okay, are we back on track there? Sorry about that. Sorry about that. The previous audio cue before I stopped talking, apparently the little dial in my movie maker here was going all crazy. But anyway, let me continue here. Yeah, Rose would bond their soul together to restore him. Occult would actually later become one of the main members of the Sentinels of Magic, which was a group, a magic superhero-based group that prevented artifacts like the Spear of Destiny from falling into dark hands. He would play a vital role in the Day of Judgment incident, helping to protect Earth from a full demonic invasion. When Hell itself had emptied demons onto Earth, Asmodel, a fallen angel who had stolen the power of the Spectre, battling on ravaged city streets, Occult works with other heroes such as Katana, Batman, the Phantom Stranger, and Ragman, but he specifically tries to protect Madame Xanadu. She had stolen some of Asmodel's powers, weakening him considerably, and was hiding it behind a force field. However, Occult would later be affected by the Stranger again. Confused and helpless, the Spectre destroys the Rock of Eternity, scattering fragments of it over Gotham. Several dozen mystically attuned superheroes, including Occult, Phantom Stranger, Detective Chimp, and Rex the Wonder Dog, work together to free Gotham of demonic influence. However, Occult would briefly be possessed by one of the semi-sentient 7 sins of man, who had been imprisoned in the Rock for some time. However, eventually, Occult and Gotham would be cleansed of any demonic influence. Getting a little tongue-tied trying to get all this information out in a very, quick, orderly fashion. But anyway, in the limited series JSA Black Baptism from May to August of 2001, Occult would assist the JLA in battling a group of demons who stylized themselves after American mafioso gangster types. Partly motivated by revenge after the Day of Judgment incident, they go after the Sentinels of Magic, and Occult is forced to go on the run, hiding as Rose in a mystical hangout known as the Scrape Bar. He is attacked by 3 of the Diablos, and they also took the opportunity to try to kill the other magicians. However, Wonder Woman and Green Lantern would rescue him and help subdue the demons. He would also soon help to heal Superman, who had been injured by a magical worm bullet, and he would then be given a reserve membership within the JSA. He was also the main character in a backup story called Reign in Hell, which was a miniseries, where he enters Hell in order to try to find Rose. Rose had apparently been lost in a mysterious demon attack, and Occult conjures up Yellow Piri as an expendable spirit guide for the realms of Hell. Despite this, he rescues her from a demonic attack that causes her to lose both her legs from the knees down. Occult and Piri find Rose serving the purgatory-based forces in Hell, or at least the ones that were attempting to try to conquer it. In a desperate gamble to stop blazoned Satanists from conquering purgatory, Rose enters Hell by her own will, condemning herself to eternal damnation. Despite Yellow Piri's contradictory advice, Occult trusts her with the unspoken principum, a mysterious and universal truth that every condemned soul knows. But she can never communicate by any means. The unspoken principum is later revealed as, "You may leave when you want, even if no condemned soul left Hell by his or her own will in the DC universe," according to Rose. Yeah, tongue-tied there. But anyway, Occult would offer to try to help Rose out of purgatory. However, she refuses his help and she stays in purgatory and hell to bring a sense of hope to the damned souls that feel that they have no sense of redemption, and so on and so forth. Basically, in other words, she stays for very noble reasons. And that's the last story I really want to get into with Occult. I'm not going to get into the New 52 stuff, like, the Dark Justice League, or the Justice League Dark stuff. But, because it's only like one sentence, which is apparently they bring him in and then they just kill him off instantly. But other than that, guys, that is it. That is pretty much all the biographical information, or at least as much as I'm sure you guys would really want, on Dr. Richard Occult. And I think he's a very unique character. He's also one of the, I guess you could say, the earliest DC superheroes, especially during the Golden Age. And I thought he'd be a pretty good pick, especially since we're in the month of October, and ironically, he debuted in October. So with that, guys, that is Dr. Occult, an extremely lesser known, but indeed very, very awesome hero. Stay tuned for my Halloween double features, guys.